0.8 grams per kilogram. That is the number on your government's nutrition label, the number most doctors repeat without question. Research now shows it was set using studies on young, sedentary adults. And if you are over 60, following it may be quietly accelerating your muscle loss right now. The official protein RDA has not changed for adults of any age since it was established. An international panel of experts, the ProTage Study Group, formally declared it too low for older people. The gap between what the guideline says and what current research supports is not a small rounding error, it is nearly double. This video gives you the number researchers actually recommend, the biological reason you need more than you think, and a single trackable target you can start using at your next meal. Here is what the RDA label does not tell you. The 0.8 grams per kilogram target was derived from nitrogen balance studies conducted primarily on young, healthy, sedentary adults. The methods and the population were never designed to represent someone over 60. The Food and Nutrition Board then applied that same figure to every adult over age 18. No age adjustment, no accounting for the physiological changes that come with decades of life. The ProTage Study Group, an international panel of researchers assembled specifically to review protein needs in aging, stated plainly in their position paper that this recommendation is too low for older people. So if you have been hitting 0.8 and feeling good about it, you have been aiming at the wrong target. The real number is significantly higher, and the reason why comes down to something happening inside your muscle cells that most people have never heard of. After 60, something changes at the cellular level. It is called anabolic resistance, and it is the reason the RDA debate matters so much for your age group specifically. In younger adults, a moderate protein meal reliably triggers a spike in muscle protein synthesis, the process that rebuilds and maintains muscle tissue. In older muscle, that signal is blunted. The same dose of protein produces a meaningfully weaker response. Research quantifies that blunting at roughly 16 to 30% lower muscle protein synthesis at matched intake. Think of it like a radio receiver losing sensitivity. The broadcast is still going out, but the signal is not getting through at full strength. Your muscle is not broken, it just requires a stronger signal to respond. That means the dose that kept a 30-year-old's muscle intact will not keep yours intact. And here is the part that makes this urgent. Your muscle is being broken down every day, whether you are building it or not. The question is whether your protein intake is keeping up with that breakdown. So what is the number? The ProTage Study Group and ESPN, the European Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism, both recommend that healthy adults over 60 consume 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day as a floor, not a ceiling. For those who are physically active or managing an illness, that recommendation rises to 1.2 to 1.6 grams. To put that in concrete terms, if you weigh 75 kilograms, about 165 pounds, the government says you need 60 grams of protein per day. Researchers say you need between 75 and 90 grams, and possibly up to 120 grams if you are active. That is the gap. It is not trivial. A 2026 clinical nutrition report noted that approximately 40% of adults over 70 fall below 1.0 grams per kilogram per day. That means nearly half the people in your age group are not even reaching the research minimum, let alone the government's already too low standard. Your number to track, 1.2 grams per kilogram per day. Hitting a daily protein total is only half the equation. The other half is how you distribute it. And most people over 60 are getting this wrong in a way that cancels out the benefit of eating enough total protein. Because of anabolic resistance, your muscle needs a sufficient dose at each meal to trigger meaningful synthesis. Younger adults reach near maximal muscle protein synthesis at around 20 to 25 grams per meal. Older adults, research shows, need 35 to 40 grams per meal to reach an equivalent response. The threshold for the amino acid leucine, the specific trigger for your muscles on switch, rises from roughly 2.5 grams per meal in younger adults to 3 grams or more in adults over 60. A 2021 systematic review across 29 studies found the leucine trigger supported in older adult arms at a rate consistent with this higher threshold requirement. So an older adult eating 1.2 grams per kilogram daily, but spreading it across small meals, 15 grams at breakfast, 20 at lunch, is functionally underdosing at every single meal, even while hitting the daily target. The stakes are worth saying plainly. Research published in the journals of gerontology found that protein intakes below the RDA in medically stable older adults exacerbate age-related reductions in muscle size, quality, and function, not cause them, accelerate them. In observational research, lower muscle mass and function are consistently linked with reduced capacity for daily tasks, climbing stairs, rising from a chair, carrying groceries, recovering strength after an illness. Sarcopenia, the clinical term for age-related muscle loss, is associated in multiple large studies with greater frailty and longer recovery windows following illness or injury. A 2025 Nutrients review noted that 50% of women over 71 and 30% of men over 71 in the United States consume inadequate dietary protein, measured against the already low 0.8 gram standard. The barriers are real. Appetite decreases with age, eating alone reduces how much people eat, and fixed incomes limit food choices. But knowing the target matters. You cannot aim at a number you have never been told. Here is what this looks like in practice. Take your weight in kilograms. Divide your weight in pounds by 2.2 to get that number. Multiply by 1.2. That is your daily protein floor. For a 150-pound person, that is about 82 grams per day. Now divide that across 3 meals. Each one should carry at least 25 to 35 grams. High-quality sources that clear the leucine threshold include eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, chicken, fish, and legumes, paired with a grain. A 2026 clinical nutrition report notes that a 30-gram whey protein shake at breakfast, particularly for anyone who eats lightly in the morning, is one of the highest leverage practical interventions available. For plant-based eaters, the per-meal target is slightly higher, around 30 to 40 grams, because plant proteins are typically lower in leucine by weight. One important note: if you have been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, work with your physician before increasing protein. For the majority of older adults with healthy kidneys, higher protein intakes up to 1.6 grams per kilogram have not been associated with kidney harm in research. Every video on this channel gives you one number to track over time. Today that number is 1.2. That is 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight, every day, spread across at least 3 meals that each carry 25 to 35 grams, not the government's 0.8. Not a vague instruction to eat more protein, a specific, research-supported target that expert groups including Protage and ESPN have formally endorsed for healthy adults in your age group. Log your protein tomorrow, just tomorrow, see where you actually land against 1.2. Most people are surprised. The gap between what you think you are eating and what you are actually eating is often the first thing that changes when you have a real number to aim at. Muscle is tissue you maintain every single day, and protein is the raw material your body requires to do that maintenance. Aging is not something that simply happens to you. It is something you actively train for, one meal at a time. Calculate your 1.2 grams per kilogram number right now. Log tomorrow's meals against it, and tell us in the comments how large the gap was. We read every reply. If you want the follow-up on which specific protein sources clear the leucine threshold most efficiently for older adults, that video is linked next.